Could Alabama football have another Minka on their 2025 squad? It's a broad comparison, but stick with me and stick around. This is way offsides. 3, 2, let's go. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever the case may be. Welcome to Way Offsides. We're going to talk about something a little crazy today, but I want you guys to just bear with me, okay? Like just trust me on this. There's a reason I'm going to say what I'm going to say while you're here, but I'm going to give you a second to calm down. Go like, subscribe, hit all the things, hit the notification bell, turn it on, leave a comment that says Roll Tide. We're going to approach this conversation carefully and quietly because I'm going to make a wacky comparison, and I want you to be clear. Let's just take the hat off right at the beginning here. Pop the lid off this thing. I am not saying that Cam Calhoun is as good as Minka Fitzpatrick by any means. What I am saying is that there are similarities, and we're going to talk about those. Okay. Alabama's DBs are some of the best in the country in 2025. And it's very, very, very exciting for a lot of people because we know how good Alabama is. They're very deep. They're extremely talented. One of the best, if not the best secondary overall in the country last year. And they're mostly all returning, minus a couple of guys like Malachi Moore. Looking through this DB room, as well as how Kane Womack is using them in practice, using a middle safety, and going through these position groups. The position that pops out to me and that is very interesting is this husky position. For those of you who don't know what that is, typically in a 4-2-5 defense, which is technically what Alabama runs, there is a husky position. It's a hybrid position. It's kind of like a hybrid safety / linebacker. It's got to be a bigger defensive back. Usually they're a little faster, or maybe a combination of both, right? And what this position does is it blends the characteristics of a safety and a linebacker, and they often act as kind of a nickel, or maybe even you could even say star or a slot defender. The player has to be extremely versatile in how they approach the game. They've got to be able to do a lot of things, cover slot wide receivers. They've got to be able to blitz. And they definitely have to be able to help defend the run. This is something that Nick Saban did a lot during his tenure at Alabama, even though it wasn't technically that 4-2-5 defense. He still often had that star nickel position. And one of the best ones to ever do it at Alabama was Minka Fitzpatrick, who was very versatile and could do all the things when he was at Alabama. The comparison isn't as wild as you think. Now, Minka primarily played safety, but he also played that nickel, especially like when they were in dime defense. I believe he, as a true freshman, he played star, if I remember correctly. Somebody tell me in the comments below. I want to make sure I'm right on that. But either way, now body comparisons, they're the same height. Both were at 6'1". Minka was at 6'1". Not that he's grown, he's still 6'1", but Cam Calhoun also is 6'1". There is a big, a 20-pound difference in their weight. Minka was 200 pounds when he was at Alabama. Cam Calhoun's 180. Now, Kane Womack has been talking a lot about Cam Calhoun during fall for Alabama, a lot. And he has been talking Cam Calhoun up. He has been talking about how versatile he is, which is again, that was what was so great about Minka Fitzpatrick. And Calhoun shares a similar versatility. That's where we're talking about the comparison in their versatility. Okay. Womack's mentioned several times his ability to play multiple positions in the secondary. He can play cornerback, but he also plays that husky, nickel position. And so that's kind of where the comparison starts. Now, something else that's very interesting about Calhoun, I went back and watched him some Utah highlights yesterday, and he does carry a very similar energy and swagger to Mika Fitzpatrick, which is, I mean, maybe not of note, maybe it's not noteworthy, but I feel like in Alabama's defense, Cam Calhoun is going to be a guy that really pops in 2025. And he's going to be a solid guy. He's going to be solid in coverage and in run support, which is a big deal. We just did a video earlier talking about some of the wrinkles that Kane Womack is putting in place this week in practice with the 3 safety look, pretty much 6 DBs, so that you've got an extra guy that you can commit to coverage or run support, and help out that defensive line, which obviously last year, the stopping the run, I think Alabama was like 47th in the country. They weren't great at it. And so in this defensive system, it utilizes different terminology, but really when you look at that nickel and this husky position, it can be very similar in the sense of how they're used. And so I just, and maybe the comparison's not there, but man, everything that we're hearing about Cam Calhoun coming out of camp, coming out of the fall, is very promising. It's very, very promising. And then, I mean, if you don't believe me, go back and watch some footage of him at Utah. The guy looks a lot like Mika Fitzpatrick on the field. From how he wears his uniform to how he moves. And so I get it. They both essentially played 2 different positions. I know that's going to come up in the comment section, but at the same time, they didn't. Now, what's interesting about Calhoun is he'll be used as well, again, primarily to hopefully stop the run. That's a big deal. I think that necessarily won't be his primary function, but it'll be a big part of what he does. And Kane Womack has talked him up in that sense, and how versatile he is, how versatile he is, and how much he can do for this defense. Now, he spoke directly after practice a few days ago, and he said, Cam's got a very versatile. He's doing some good things at the husky nickel position. He plays a game with really good energy. And he talks about how you've got to have guys like that. He's relatively quiet in the secondary for the most part. At least a year ago I think there are numbers of guys that bring a little bit of swagger, and sometimes you need that, which is really good. He's certainly one that brings juice and energy every day. That sounds a lot like Mika Fitzpatrick when he was at Alabama. 100%. 100%. And that's straight from the DC's mouth. So are you with him, not me? So, so yeah, I mean, I guess I can admit it. The thumbnail's a little clickbaity, but we got to pay some bills. So, but I mean, really, I think that the potential for him to be a first rounder is there, especially in this defense. He's going to thrive at that husky position or at corner, wherever really he plays. I believe at practice this week, he was practicing at the corner position. But I expect to see him in that husky position at some point in time as they rotate and figure things out. So Cam Calhoun, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be a massive addition to this secondary in 2025. And he should have you very excited. No, maybe he's not as good as Mika Fitzpatrick, but the fact that we can even make a video and even discuss the potential should get you really excited about this kid. Everybody else is extremely excited about him, and for good reason. Thanks for sticking around with me. Thanks for entertaining my ridiculousness. I appreciate you guys. I'm not always right, and that's okay. But sometimes I just like to put up a video for you to discuss, to generate some conversation down below. So don't be shy. Let me know how you feel. Thanks for sticking around. As always, say your prayers, read your Bibles, wash your hands. Horns down, beat Auburn and LSU and Tennessee too. Roll Tide.